Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander Theorem. I'm Paul, your host, and I'd like to just say thank you for hanging out with me today to talk some magic. I hope you enjoy the show. Today we're going to be talking about Tolsimir, Friend to Wolves, a 3/3 elf scout from War of the Spark. When Tolsimir enters the battlefield, we create Volya, the Friend to Elves, a legendary 3/3 green and white wolf creature token. Also, whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under our control, we'll gain 3 life, and then that creature fights up to 1 target creature we do not control. It is technically possible to choose to target no creatures to fight, but this is going to work later on in our strategy. Anyway, Tolsimir is a very interesting commander, as he offers a wolf tribal synergy that we really haven't had many good options for prior to War of the Spark. I'm sorry, Ulrich. It's a different take on what we'd expect from Wolf Tribal, given that the majority of wolves are in red and green, and we really haven't got a good commander in those colors. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep talking shade on this. Anyway, the deck I'm going to show to you in this video will hopefully be a good starting point for a Wolf Tribal Commander deck. I personally love this deck, and if you love this video and would like to see more like this one, remember to click that like button. I really do appreciate your support. So this deck has 2 main strategies. We want to make wolf creature tokens, and we want to get wolves onto the battlefield. But unlike most tribal themed decks, we aren't actually running a whole lot of wolves. In building this deck, we looked through this many wolves in green, and there's only 1 in white, to find the best of the best in terms of utility, synergy, and power level. The wolves we chose to include are those that have a utility towards this deck, or they offer enough of a power boon to work as a standalone threat. Our second strategy is to utilize those wolves for value. Tolsimir gives us life gain and allows our wolves to fight other creatures, both padding our life total and simultaneously acting as a weird form of removal for our opponents' creatures. I do have a few includes in the deck to protect our wolves from the damage that they would receive in their fights, and we will talk about that in a bit, but first, I want to go through the wolves that we run. First off is Arlen's Wolf, and this was one I was very on the fence with. Being a 3/2 for 3 is kind of average, but what put this one above the other wolves is the clause that it cannot be blocked by any creature with power 2 or less. So this wolf is going to be going for the throat and not wasting any time getting blocked by silly weenie creatures. Lone Wolf is one of my favorite cards in all of Magic, and one of the very first cards that I ever owned. This 2/2 wolf has a very unique ability that only a few creatures in Magic have. It can deal its damage to the defending player as though it weren't blocked. So creatures can still block the Lone Wolf, but we can choose to have all of the damage be assigned to the defending player, and this ability has been sort of fan-named Super Trample. And if we pump up this wolf enough, it can definitely plow through opponents' defenses and hit for quite a lot of damage. It'll still take damage from any blockers, but it will assign no damage to those blockers, but you know what, sometimes we need to get through. Mirror Entity is a 1/1 shapeshifter for 3. It's technically not a wolf at first glance, but the changeling ability makes it all creature types, so I guess it's a wolf. This creature is one of our win conditions. As we pick off our opponents' creatures using Tolsimir's fight mechanic, they will find that they have less and less stuff on the battlefield to block our pack. Using the Mirror Entity on the penultimate turn to power up the entire pack can put in for some lethal amounts of damage on opponents. Pack Guardian is part of a small suite of creatures that I would consider to be hand traps. In a very flavor win, you can hold up this 4/3 Wolf Spirit in our hand, waiting for the prime opportunity to strike, and then at instant speed we drop this into play, pitch a land card, maybe something like Riftstone Portal, and create a 2/2 green wolf token. Both of these wolves can trigger Tolsimir and possibly even take out an opponent's attacker without ever having to enter combat. Rot Wolf is perhaps the most dangerous include that I have in our wolf pack. Being a 2/2 with Infect is pretty intimidating at a commander table and will often draw a lot of hate because of the threat that it poses. But the Rot Wolf also comes with a nice added ability, where whenever a creature dealt damage by the Rot Wolf dies, we draw a card. So this can possibly generate us some value, and if all else fails, we can always stand the chance of running in a win off of Infect. Silver Fur Partisan is a bit of a lord-like creature for this deck. It gives a bit of deterrence to opponents wanting to target our wolves with their spells, as if they do so, we will get a 2/2 wolf creature token, and this one also has Trample, which is a nice keyword ability bonus. Scala Wolf is a 5-drop 3/3 that lets us look through the top 5 cards of your library and then move a green card we reveal among them to our hand. This is great card selection and a valuable way to sift through potential dead draws. The majority of this deck is in green, making this very likely to hit a target. Spirit of the Hunt is another hand trap wolf, but this one, upon entering the battlefield, will give each other wolf +0/+3 until the end of turn. This is a great boon to toughness, as it will likely protect a lot of our other wolves from dying. I like the versatility in how this card can be used, being a surprise blocker that buffs up the blocking team, or as an assist when our wolves get into fights with other creatures. Witchstalker is a hefty looking 3/3 with hexproof, making them untouchable to our opponent's spells, but it'll also get a +1/+1 counter on it whenever an opponent will cast a blue or black spell during our turn. While we don't have guaranteed likelihood of getting triggers off that second ability, a 3/3 with hexproof on a wolf is pretty sweet. Wolfear Avenger is likely what I would be considered the most vanilla card among the wolves we included. This one, like several before, can act as a hand trap with flash to drop in on an unsuspecting opponent. This wolf also carries a regeneration ability, letting it save itself from the next time it would die. And lastly, Young Wolf is a very unique ability in this deck. I included him solely for the fighting mechanic on Tolsimir, as for 1 mana we can effectively deal 3 damage to a creature, gain 6 life, and possibly have a battle-ready 2/2 in play. We play the Young Wolf, it fights anything and dies, and then we gain 3 life. The Undying ability will trigger on it, and it'll return to the battlefield as a 2/2, it'll gain us 3 more life, and then it can fight another creature. That's quite a lot of work for this young pup. Now, those are the physical wolves this deck runs, but we do also run several methods of producing wolf tokens. Kessage Cagebreakers can give us a 2/2 tapped and attacking wolf for each creature in our graveyard. This can potentially put a ton of paws into play, giving us plenty of triggers for Tolsimir. Master of the Wild Hunt creates a 2/2 wolf at the beginning of our upkeep. We can also tap it and all untapped wolves we control to have those wolves deal damage equal to their power to target creature. And then that creature deals damage equal to its power to our wolf pack, divided as they choose among our wolves. This is a slight variation on the fight mechanic, but nevertheless stands as a possible removal technique against some of the bigger creatures. Tolsimir Wolfblood, the original form of our commander from the original Ravnica set, is a dual lord for white creatures and green creatures, giving each +1/+1. If that creature has both colors, it gets +2/+2. We can tap this version of Tolsimir to create a 2/2 white and green legendary wolf token named Voya. Because Voya has both colors, it'll get +2/+2 and be a 4/4 wolf. Now, a quick note to this inclusion. The legendary rule will not apply here, as both versions of Tolsimir and both versions of Voya are both named differently. The legendary rule only applies to the names of the cards, so we can have all 4 of these cards in play at once, despite them sort of having a similarity in names. Now, you can't tap Tolsimir a second time to create a second Voya without having to sacrifice one of the 2, but Voya Friend to Wolves will not have to be sacrificed in this instance. Ren's Run Packmaster is an excellent generator and lord to wolves, letting us create a 2/2 wolf for 3 mana, and then wolves we control have Death Touch. This makes Tolsimir's fight trigger all the more dangerous, as suddenly those wolves can one-shot anything shy of an indestructible creature. And while we do have to champion an elf to have the Packmaster enter the battlefield, we do run quite a good number of elves alongside this that we can utilize, but we'll get to that later. Howl of the Night Pack gives us a 2/2 wolf token for each forest that we control. We run a total of 14 cards in the deck that are forests, and while 7 mana might be a little steep, if we can net at least 4 or 5 wolves off of this, we will be getting a lot of value. As you've likely noticed by now, wolf tokens are a little pricier compared to other token cards to produce. It's not like saplings or elves that can be popped out by the dozens. Wolf takes a little more investment to get into play. Feed the Pack is next, and at the beginning of each of our end steps, we can sacrifice a non-token creature and create a number of wolf tokens equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. This is a great way to sacrifice some of the physical wolf cards in order to get more tokens, more triggers, and more life gain. Raised by Wolves is an aura that gives us 2 wolf creature tokens, and then the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each wolf we control. This can be really great to start pumping on one creature for an alpha strike. Wolfcaller's Howl is a great enchantment that I've found is very underrated for multiplayer games. At the beginning of our upkeep, we create a wolf for each opponent with 4 or more cards in their hands. This is a card that I've sorely underestimated, and it can generate so much value. Players draw a lot of cards in Commander, and oftentimes we'll see them sitting on a handful of cards. This can be a great punishment to that, as we'll start amassing a larger pack of wolves ready to fight. Finally, Arlen, Voice of the Pack, is a legendary Planeswalker with 7 loyalty. Her static ability gives each wolf that enters the battlefield an additional +1/+1 counter on it. We can also -2 her to create a wolf. This is very powerful, as she can drop in and then immediately create a creature to block for her and contribute to the wolf count. But now that we have those wolves in play, let's explore ways to get more value out of them. Mentor of the Meek can pay us 1 mana to draw a card whenever a wolf enters play. Tristani, Selesnya's Voice, gives us even more life gain off of our wolves, and she can populate our wolf pack. Wiltleaf Liege is another lord similar to Tolsimir, giving +1/+1 to green and white creatures, and giving +2/+2 to creatures that are both. Aura Shards can take advantage of us dropping creatures into play, popping off opponents as artifacts or enchantments. Take note that this is a May ability, and so we don't have to use it if it's the only target left. Beastmaster's Ascension is a finisher in this deck. After just 7 attacks, our entire board gets +5/+5, making for some huge wolves, and this isn't a very difficult thing to achieve either. Cathar's Crusade is another finisher type card, making way for immense amounts of counters to be passed around with each creature that enters the battlefield. This can get out of hand very fast once we begin churning out more creatures. Dawn of Hope gives us card draw off of life gain techniques, and we can invest 4 mana into making a 1/1 lifelink soldier. It's not a wolf per se, but it's some value and can get us more card draw. Mirari's Wake is an anthem effect to our entire board and lets us double the mana produced by lands. Smothering Tithe is just good treasure. It's not gold, it's treasure. In just about every white deck. And while this being in green makes it somewhat necessary and overkill, I wanted to put as much pressure on an opponent while I can. Alhammarit's Archive doubles our life gain and doubles our draw outside of our draw step. Speaking of card draw, Well of Lost Dreams is one of my favorites to pair with Tolsimir or Tristani. Whenever we gain life when our creatures attack, we can pay X, where X is less than or equal to the number of life we gained, and then we can draw X cards. So if we have the mana for it, we can draw up to 3 cards with each wolf to enter the battlefield, just with Tolsimir in play. Ajani Greathearted gives us some life gain, giving our creatures vigilance, and we can -2 him to put another counter on each creature we control. Huatli can become absurd quickly, getting loyalty counters for the number of creatures we control. We can then buff up a single creature based on how many creatures we control, and then the ultimate gives us card draw whenever a creature enters the battlefield, and that includes tokens. Lastly, 2 cards I wanted to touch upon are the Wanderer and the Mark of Asylum. The 2 of these cards share an ability that is very beneficial to our deck. See, when a wolf fights off of Tolsimir's trigger, they get damaged, but it's not technically combat damage, so that damage can technically kill our wolves, but with either of these 2 cards out, that non-combat damage is nullified. The Wanderer also has the added bonus of being able to remove a bigger creature, and these can give us a lot more leniency in having our creatures fight. We run a small but efficient tutor package in the form of Eladamri's Call, Enlightened Tutor, and Green Sun's Zenith. Now that we've covered the bulk of our deck strategy, we need to cover the mana base that will help us get the rampant color fixing. I run a total of 5 mana dorks: Avacyn's Pilgrim, Rares of Paradise, Boreal Druid, Elvish Mystic, and Llanowar Elves. These all cost 1 mana and can each tap for 1 mana. Sakura Tribe Elder gets us a basic land coming into play tapped. Wood Elves gets us a forest, and since it doesn't have to be a basic, we can snag a non-basic forest. We have a few sorcery speed ramp spells: Cultivate, Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, and Skyshroud Claim. Commander Sphere gets us both of our colors, and after we've tapped it the last time it's been of use to us, we can sacrifice it to draw a card. Selesnya Keyrune is a mana rock that can also turn into a 3/3 wolf, giving us a possible blocker in a pinch. So let's talk lands, as I went with something rather unique for this deck for certain reasons. Ash Barrens lets us snag a basic land with its basic land cycling. Bountiful Promenade gives us both of our colors, and in multiplayer Commander we will always have 2 or more opponents, so this will almost always come out untapped. Canopy Vista has both forest and plain land types, letting it be fetchable by some of our ramp spells. Dryad Arbor is both a land and a creature, letting it be searched out by some ramp spells and by Green Sun Zenith for 0. Aganjo Castle is here to protect Voya. We can pay a white mana and tap this land to prevent the next 2 damage dealt to target creature this turn, as long as it's a legendary. Since both Voya, Friend to Wolves, and Voya are legendary, they both can be targets for this whenever they fight. Emergence Zone is my personal preference over Vidalcan Orrery, letting you cast spells this turn as though they had flash. This can be great to spring in a ton of value on the end of someone's turn, or some surprise spells. Gavany Township can put a counter on each creature we control. Crozen Verge is a fetch that can get both a plains and a forest card into play tapped, and since it does not specify basic lands, we can go get 2 non-basic plains and forests. Mistveil Plains is a repeatable recursion ability on a land that works great so long as we have 2 or more white permanents in play. Riftstone Portal is in the deck to help fix our mana. While it is in the graveyard, all of our lands can tap for a green or a white mana, making this an excellent card to hold up in case you need to pitch it to a discard ability. Scattered Groves is another dual land with forest and plains subtypes, and it has the cycle mechanic on it, so if we feel we don't need it, we can simply discard it to draw another card. Now, I personally choose to run Throne of the High City because I love the Monarchy mechanic, and given how much removal our wolves will be doing to our opponent's board, it's likely we're going to remain the Monarch for quite a while. Wirewood Lodge is great to help untap some of our elves, and we can untap our Tolsimir Wolfblood to get another Voya should something happen to the original. Now, I do have one more land that I want to cover that's not a basic land, but I wanted to note for this deck I chose to go with snow-covered plains and snow-covered forests. I love the aesthetic of these lands. They're longtime favorites of mine, and I would love to find ways to incorporate more snow lands into my builds. But aside from their elegance and beauty, I run them from Mouth of Rohanum, which requires 2/1 snow mana to deal 4 damage to a target creature. I like to keep this held up as a backup in case I need to remove an opponent's creature and my wolves for some reason are not good enough. And with that, our look at Tolsimir Friend to Wolves draws to an end. What fun spicy tech do you have for your commander decks? Have you built Tolsimir in one of his forms, and do you think our take on a wolf tribal deck is better built than something using another commander? Let's talk about it in the comments section of this video. I hope you enjoyed this piece. As always, you can show your support by liking the video, sharing it with your friends, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that little notification bell to get updates on the channel. If you'd like to help support us even more, we do have a Patreon that if we manage to get rolling, I have some exciting things in store. Again, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I thank you for taking the time to hang out with me and talk magic. You're beautiful, you're wonderful, and as always, I will catch you guys, gals, and non-binary pals next video. Boom!